Hello, good morning, and welcome to another day in Tenerife. I'm actually doing this recording straight after the one from the last session, so it's still overcast, and this also maybe fits in a little bit to our topic for today, which is cancer, which is not the nicest of topics, and it's not something most of us like to think about. I know I certainly don't. But one of the nice things to know about moving to a plant-based vegan diet is that it significantly reduces our risk of getting cancer. But also, if we do have cancer, it significantly reduces the probability that our cancers will grow, because effectively it slows down, or it can slow down, the reproduction rate. So I think first of all, when we're thinking about cancer, we have to look at the links between meat and cancer. In the last few years, there's been a number of studies brought out, and even the World Health Organization came out in a statement and said that red and processed meats are carcinogenic. So these meats can cause cancer, and that includes quite a large number of products that people eat on a regular basis, and I'll list them now. So beef, lamb, pork, veal, venison and goat, as well as processed foods such as sausages, bacon, ham, deli meats and canned meats, are all linked to increased cancer risk. So there's not really any doubt about this actually in the medical community. Meat is definitely linked to cancer and cancer growth. But it's not just the meat, it's also the dairy as well. Why should this be? Well, we have a growth hormone inside of it called IGF-1, and please read the text below because there's a lot more detail in all of these videos. The detail really is more below, and I just try to remember what I wrote yesterday in these videos to keep them nice and smooth. But there's a growth factor called IGF-1, and we need this to grow. And when we become adults, the effects of this stops, and obviously we stop growing. But IGF-1 is still in our bodies; it still exists, and there's a strong connection between this growth hormone and the growth of cancer cells. When we eat meat and take in dairy, especially things like milk contains a lot of IGF-1. Cow's milk there's actually 9 times more IGF-1 in cow's milk than human milk. Human milk actually has the lowest amount of IGF-1 of any mammal. So we are humans, the mammals with the least amount of IGF-1 in our milk, and surely there's a reason for that. So does it really make sense that we should be drinking the milk of another mammal which is full of IGF-1, which is intended to make a little baby calf grow into an enormous cow within a very short space of time? Surely this is not a sensible course of action, and yet we've been doing it. I think we've been doing it for years and years, but it's now beginning to become clear that this is not a healthy practice at all, and the milk industry actually is suffering because more and more people are becoming aware of this. So first of all, there's a strong link between meat and dairy and the cause of cancer, but also the growth of cancer. The good news is that plant-based diets have actually been there's a number of studies that have shown that a plant-based vegan diet, whole grain, low fat diets can actually help not just prevent but also treat cancer. There's strong evidence about in prostate cancer, breast cancer and some other cancers, that eating a plant-based diet is a very, very sensible thing to do, and may even, in some cases, reduce the size of cancers. That's especially true in prostate cancer. And what I can recommend is there's a book called How Not to Die. I've mentioned it before in this course, and I really recommend it. It's excellent. It goes through each of the chronic diseases that are prevalent in the Western world today. And first of all, Dr. Michael Greger highlights each of these diseases, explains the data behind how plant-based diet can help with each of these diseases. And in the second half of the book, there's lots of ideas about foods that we should be eating that are really good for preventing the growth or preventing certain diseases. So if we're suffering, for instance, if we have cancer, there's certain foods that we can eat to better our chances. When you go down the rabbit hole, actually, there's some absolutely incredible research and other opinions outside of the traditional medical community that are definitely, in my opinion, well worth looking into. A good place to start is the Rich Roll podcast. So I recommend the book from Michael Greger, but there's also a podcast, the Rich Roll podcast, and he's had some very, very interesting guests on there, particularly to do with health issues such as heart disease, diabetes, and also cancer. So I highly recommend that you start listening to some of the old shows, because some of the information, some of the details and research provided and insights provided by some of his guests are absolutely mind-blowing. There's one interview that he did with Dr. Zach Bush on glyphosate, which is a herbicide. And that has got to be one of the most interesting interviews I've ever heard. So please go and find that and listen to it. It's really amazing. So the good news is we're switching to a plant-based diet because we understand that it's good for our health, it's good for the animals, and it's good for the environment. And it's comforting to know that by making this move, we're also reducing our chances of getting cancer. And if we are suffering from cancer, we also know that it's going to help our chances of survival. So I hope this has been helpful. As always, please read the text below. I spent all yesterday afternoon writing it, and I look forward to see you all in the next session. Thank you very much.